Self-described professional liar, award-winning voice actor Gavin Hammon has worked on some of the world's top gaming franchises, such as Telltale Games, The Walking Dead, NBA 2K, League of Legends, Red Dead Redemption, and The Last of Us. Let's get to know a little bit more about Gavin Hammon. Gavin, how are you?
I'm good, Kadrae. How are you?
Doing good. It's been such a good day. Yeah, nice to meet you too. I want to get started with asking you how you even got started in the voice acting. It says that you started back in 2004 and it's 2020 now. How did you get started on this journey?
So I was in a band for most of the 90s, a ska punk band called Dancehall Crashers. I played the drums.
Oh.
And we did that pretty much throughout most of the 1990s. I was in my 20s. And then we kind of stopped playing in 2000. And that was when I just sort of was doing a lot of different other things. I was working at a comic shop. I was working at a coffee shop. I was doing field construction. And then at one point, my boss called me up. It was actually my dad in construction. Called me up and said, there's a lady on the radio who runs a voiceover school, and you should listen to it. I had always mimicked movies and cartoons, a lot less so video game characters because there was no voice in video games back then.
Yeah.
And I just would do dialects. I'd talk in accents and all kinds of nonsense stuff. And I had no idea that voiceover was like a thing. I was like almost 30, just really had never even occurred to me because I'm an idiot. But so I listened. It was Samantha Paris and her school in Sausalito, California, which is just sort of north of San Francisco, a school called Voice Tracks. I just started taking classes and really felt like I could do it, and spent about 5 years taking classes and working towards it. And then in 2004, I signed with my agent Stars in San Francisco. And then 2006, I signed with an LA agent. And then about 2008 or so, I was doing it full time. And now it's a career, which is pretty wild.
Yeah. And it's a career that you can do from home, especially with COVID-19 going on, that you could just stay hunkered in. I saw on one of your Instagram posts, you were like, I'm starting to look like Kenny from The Walking Dead now.
Yeah. I sort of tidied that up a little bit. But yeah, it was definitely the quarantine, I don't know, May or June. Who knows what months it is anymore. Was around the time I made that video and posted to my Instagram.
Yeah. What has been your favorite voice to act so far?
Oh, so it's going to be a pretty unpopular choice for me to say, but it was actually Furby, one of these things.
No.
Yeah. So I did multiple iterations of it, including, and I swear to God, these are not props I just have for these interviews, but they're all just right next to me. And then the original one too, not original, but in 2010-ish, and then these. So I did these three, and as well as the Chewbacca one, the Chewbacca Furby, and there's there's probably hundreds of hours of audio in those things. It's so loosely scripted that it's basically just stream of consciousness, me doing lots of different characters. I localized it into 13 different languages. So that first one, the last one I showed you, they released in 13 different countries, all with my voice in them. The second one I showed, Furby Boom, was also localized. That's me and also Melissa Hutchison. She did the localization for a lot of those others, because apparently she and I were the only two people in the country, or the Bay Area at least, who could stay in character and mimic a foreign language that we don't speak. So I'm probably most proud of that, because it's just so weird, and it has so much. There's singing, there's sound effects, Foley, all kinds of awful sounds. But it was a really great gig. For about 5 years, I was working on it about 20 to 30 hours a week. So it was very, very lucrative. But it's probably not popular because most of the videos you find for Furbies are destroying them in some capacity.
To some capacity, of course. I had a lot of them growing up in the younger years.
That was the previous iteration, not me.
Yeah, not you. Yeah, and so that's insane. What's it like to be a part of something that's a big part of a lot of people's childhood culture?
Well, it was weird because when I auditioned for it, I knew the audio developer really well. This wonderful company in the South Bay of Northern California called Creativity Incorporated, and so I knew them really well. I'd worked with them a bunch on other, toy audio projects, like talking toothbrushes or talking board games or just voice matching characters or something. But I remember when I went to audition for this, they had us go down in person to audition, and then they were just like, we need 5 characters. This thing's from outer space. It has its own language. We don't have any aspects of the language, so here's a few words that you can use, and we need 5 characters. There's like a princess, there's a warrior, and I'm like, sure, which characters do you want me to do? And they're like, we want you to do all the characters. And I was like, you want me to be like a princess character? And they're like, yeah. Okay. So it was bizarre to be a part of it. And I didn't know until I was actually booked on the thing what it was. They didn't tell me, because I was like reading through the script and I was like, speaks Furbish. And I'm like, is this Furby? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, nobody told me. But I don't know. I don't ask a lot of questions either. I just try to show up and do my job.
Of course, yeah. And do you ever get attached to any of the characters that you previously done before? I know you said you just show up.
I don't know, in the sense that it's cool to be them if I get to, like reproduce them. But it's like, to me, I'm just lending a voice to something that somebody's written. So it's like, it's as much their characters, it's hardly mine. I just get to sort of try to get it off the page. So I don't get all hung up on like, no, Kenny wouldn't say that or anything like that. Because I mean, it's just kind of, Woody, you wrote it. Would he say that? Yeah. Can I maybe change it a little bit to make it sound more like him saying this thing? Then maybe he, would be off character. But I don't know. It's not really for me to get attached and, assert myself into it. But I haven't really, created too many iconic characters like that. So I don't really feel like ownership is my thing.
Well, with the iconic character of Kenny from The Walking Dead, you actually won an award for that. I think the People's Choice Voice Acting Award. Yeah. What was that like to be one of the world's top gaming franchises, but now also you won an award for it? What's the experience like?
I never got a physical award, so if there is an award, I would love to have a copy of it. It was really nice to be nominated. I was nominated, I think, for the Gamer Awards as well, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. It's just nice to be acknowledged and appreciated. I think that's all most of us, especially actors and voice actors, I think all we really would like to be is just sort of noticed by our peers and regarded as is good. But it was really cool to work on it, because we had no idea how it was going to do. Dave Fennoy talks a lot about how different the script was when you see it for the first time, because most of the games that we do are like Renee or something like that. And so this was the first time that you didn't have walking lines where it was like, all right, I'm over here on the move or anything like that. We were just reading almost like, like a screenplay, which was really neat. And we didn't know how it would do or anything until the first episode came out and people went crazy. And then we were like, oh, shit. So pardon me. But we had to figure out, I think at that point, Telltale freaked out a bit. And then a lot of things were starting to get retooled, and they were kind of exploring how they were going to do different stuff. I think we were starting to work simultaneously on Wolf Among Us at the same time, but once The Walking Dead kind of hit and was very popular, we were like, oh no. And they kind of put the hold on Wolf and then retooled a bunch of that, and it was sort of full speed ahead on The Walking Dead. And I mean, it was so cool that it resonated with people, and that it's regarded as such like a narrative masterpiece. I mean, it's an honor to be a part of that and to get to lend myself to it in some small way.
It's a big way, because Kenny was one of my personal favorite characters because of one of his development of his journey of losing his son, losing his wife, to like being forced to live in this world, and like it was so hard to choose between him dying. When your character does die, what's it like to voice act that scenario?
Well, I voiced Kenny. probably, you know, I voiced Kenny dying several times for sure. But I mean, dying is something that we, especially in video games, it's like, if there's a session without death, it's weird. Because generally you're always playing somebody or something that dies in some way. It was weird with Kenny because we recorded that first, the 5th episode. I would show up to pretty much every session and say, okay, how do I die? And they'd say, you don't, but, you know, that was like the 3rd one, but, and I remember, on the 5th one, definitely I was dead. So I die trying to save Doug, and then, you know, that was very clear. And then I remember after the fact, we did a little bit of extra stuff because I think Sean Vanneman wasn't keen on the idea of leaving that, you know, not leaving that open-ended. So I remember, you know, we came back after we had wrapped, or after we had finished, you know, the initial records on 5. And I went back and redid some stuff so it wasn't quite as blood-curdling or something like that. And then I remember going to the rap party, and Sean Vanneman came up to me and he's like, I erased all your death audio. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So it made it at least a little more open-ended. A funny aside, Jory Prum, who was the engineer on so much of that stuff, may he rest in peace, he said at the time, oh, I still have it all. You know, if they ever needed that death audio, he's got it.
He's got it, yeah. And do you play the games that you voice act for?
I try not to.
You try not to?
Only if it's like a game that I probably don't have a choice, but I kind of have to play, which so far, the only one that's happened recently was The Last of Us Part 2. And I never found me, which is totally fine. No, for me, it just pulls me right out of the game. It's like I hear me and I'm like, oh man, why'd they use that take? Or why didn't, you know, it gets rid of the suspension of disbelief. It creates the disbelief for me. And so then I'm like, oh yeah. I have like played, you know, quite a few of the Telltale games, but usually under Telltale duress, where I'm, you know, sitting at a stream or something like that. And they want me to, you know, kill Jane or something, or let Jane kill me. It's like, why that's fun for you, I don't know. Sure.
Well, have you ever played a character that was uncomfortable for you to voice?
No, physically, sure. I had to be it was pretty early on for me, so it was probably like 2007 or 2008, and it was some Lord of the Rings game. It might have been for Insomniac. I don't even remember who the developer was, but I had to be a ring wraith toward the end of the session. But prior to that, I think I was just elves or rangers or something like that. And I had to be a ring wraith, which was just like, for me, was a very closed up, you know, breathy sort of process or whatever they were going to do. And like, that physicality for me just made me super sweaty. So I remember I came out of the booth and I'm just like head to toe drenched. And the director was just like, oh, hey, we'll just shake hands. You know, we're not going to hug you right now, but good job. But in terms of like emotionally uncomfortable, no. I mean, I'll pass on something if it's like super racist or super weird, but even then they're usually written in such a way that, you know, being a bad guy's kind of fun. I don't like personalize it too much. I'm just pretending. So
yeah, of course, you're just pretending. As with the voice acting community, I know like when it went recently with The Last of Us, as we talked before, one of the voice actors got a lot of slack for being a character that people hated. Have you ever?
Loved Abby. I loved Abby.
Oh, I loved it.
I don't get it. What else?
Yeah.
So
I love both characters. I'm like, you both are justified and both your resolves, of course. Yeah. But a lot of people were giving the voice actress for Abby a lot of slack for that, and she was like, what the heck? Yeah. What's your take on that happening to voice actors?
Leave Laura Bailey alone. She does a fantastic job, and she's the voice of so many characters that people love. She deserves way better than that. I mean, if you're going to be angry about anything, you can like direct it, I guess, towards, you know, Druckmann or something like that, if it's really important to you. I thought it was a good story.
It was a great story.
And it was like, personally, the way, you know, Joel's wasn't my Joel never really felt like a hero, you know, and it's like I knew at the end of the first one what I was doing. It was pretty clear that I wasn't being honest, and I was going to do some bad stuff, and I was going to create a situation where Ellie is like cannot possibly win because she didn't have a choice. And just the way it all kind of plays out and comes back together, I thought was brilliant. I loved it. But that's just me, and I think investing that much to the point where you're going to take it out on someone, you know, just fulfilling a role.
Yeah, just doing their job.
Like warped, you know, it's like she's doing a job. It's, you know, it's like blaming people at a fast food restaurant because they want you to wear a mask inside. It's, you know, to me, it's the same sort of logic. It's, it's a self-centered, you know, sort of lack of understanding. And that's just me, you know.
Yeah. So now there's a lot more voices that you are playing. I saw that you're doing some Lego characters, or you recently did some Lego characters. What new projects do you have coming up?
I don't know that there's anything I can talk about. There is some. There never is, though. I mean, you know, by the time I can talk about it, it's out. And I mean, there may be things that came out. I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm still working on Lego City or Lego Adventures, Lego City Adventures. I'm not sure. I think Amazon Prime has got that now where you can stream it. Really funny. And I mean, there's a crazy, massive cast of people. James Arnold Taylor's in it, Roger Craig Smith, Troy Baker, Phil Lamar, Misty Lee, Joe Zija. There's all kinds of people that are on the show. I'm just honored to be a tiny little part. You know, I get to play a firefighter. And for me, it's fun. Because I love Legos. There's a bunch that you may be able to see over here.
Oh yeah, I see them all. It's crazy.
But, yeah, for me it's really fun, and it's an honor. I'm doing a lot of different video game stuff as well. It's just I can never talk about any of it.
Not just one?
I don't know.
Not one?
No, because I don't think anything's been announced. And I don't want to be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. I don't want to put you in that position.
No, I have something pretty exciting coming up, though, that I'm like a major, you know, publisher or major developer that I'm excited to work with, and I hope it works out. But I can't talk about that because I don't even know what it is.
Of course. Well, Gavin, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to interview you and to get to know you more. It means a lot.
It's been an honor.
Yeah. Everyone, don't forget to follow Gavin on Instagram at Gavin Hammon. You can follow all of his pizza adventures as well as just watch and see what he does. He's a really funny guy. Gavin, thank you so much. You're awesome.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one, man.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.